We're speaking about challenges that are reflecting on the whole world and needs the initiation of new partners and allies. And Egypt has been opening up to the whole world. And how far do you think this opening up to the world has created kind of strategic partners, various strategic partners, if we can say?
I think we have, President Sisi really built a lot of relations all across the world. Building with the US, with the EU, with Germany, with France, with Italy, with China, with the Arab world. So definitely we have built very important relations during the last few years, economic and political relations. And on the economic side, I think that we have seen investment from a number of different countries here in Egypt, reflecting in the growth that we are seeing in the GDP this year.
Here I was just reading the head of Cairo's Chamber of Commerce, of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, stressing that the economic climate in Egypt improved during the last period, and stating the availability of investment opportunities in several fields in the Egyptian market, where Chinese investors can cooperate to benefit, or for the benefit of both sides. This is the Chinese Chamber of Commerce stating this issue, promoting for Egypt opportunities. What do the Chinese, or what opportunities do the Chinese, beside definitely what you said about assembling the spare parts and the energy field, because the energy field, I guess they have lots and lots of competitors from the European countries. But what other fields are we speaking about?
Chinese investment in Egypt is on industrial areas. Egypt is a very important market in Africa with a very large population. So industrial and manufacturing in Egypt is very important, and I think that the Chinese companies are interested in that. The energy sectors that you mentioned, we have seen a lot of Chinese companies investing in the renewable energy in Egypt. We have seen, especially in the solar in Binban, with 186 megawatt of solar built by Chinese companies. We have seen Chinese companies in mining. So definitely we see that different types of investors across different sectors using the resources, or benefiting from the resources and the market in Egypt.
Here you said something very important. They are here producing some of their own, or putting their investments in some of the producing issue, particularly here they spoke about the cement, they spoke about energy, and we're speaking about assembly. How far can we be a kind of an area to transfer, and I mean here from Egypt, that we can transfer the Chinese products that would be Egyptian Chinese production, and export them to Africa? We export them to Europe, to the United States. How far do you see this can be happening, and it would be really a kind of win-win situation?
How far? I think it is happening. A number of different companies today in Egypt are working in assembly and with Chinese companies. Electric scooters, Chinese, being built here in Egypt. Mobile phones being built here in Egypt. So there is a different number of companies, Chinese companies already existing, working and building assembly lines with Egyptian partners and exporting to the world from Egypt.
Yes, I didn't know that,
no.
But it's good to know. Good to know that, because that was something that would really benefit us in terms of exportation.
Definitely, and I think that those examples are exporting today to the world, not only to Africa, even to the US and to Europe.
Right. Moving to the issue of COVID-19 and the vaccine that we just received the first shipment of it. And before I continue on with our discussion, let's see how the Egyptian-Chinese ties developed throughout the last period. So this report and how Egyptian-Chinese ties developed.
Come to power, the relations between Egypt and China have developed. President Sisi has always welcomed the Chinese president's initiative to raise Egyptian-Chinese relations up to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership. In this respect, the two sides have signed several agreements on economic and technical cooperation, as well as many agreements for undertaking projects in sectors like electricity, transportation, and infrastructure. They also signed a number of cooperation deals in the transportation, power generation, and civil aviation sectors. There are great potentialities for developing comprehensive economic relations between Egypt and China in the fields of commodity trade, investment and services trade, at the forefront of which are the projects in the new administrative capital and the transportation projects through the Suez Canal after developing its capacity with a new parallel channel. Fields of cooperation also include subsectors of cultural tourism and resort tourism, as Egypt has massive potential and superb tourism infrastructure. There are also great potentials in scientific, technological and military cooperation between the two countries. These are fields where cooperation is based on high degrees of mutual trust which already exist. In light of the Egyptian and Chinese potential compatibility and the profundity of the culture of peaceful cooperation in foreign relations in both countries, the two countries are strong candidates for developing comprehensive strategic relations, at the heart of which are the economic relations, where the potentials of the two countries are compatible and form an objective base for distinctive and mutually beneficial development.
Right, welcome back, and returning to what we were supposed to speak about, and the first shipment of the Chinese manufactured COVID-19 vaccine. And it came from the United Arab Emirates, and I guess lots of people are speaking about that today. First, how did you read the very speed way that we have contracted with China on?
The first message that I can see from this is the importance of the relations between Egypt and China. I think that the Minister of Health visit to China in March was very important and was very indicative of the importance of our relations and the level of support that Egypt and and supporting the Chinese people during early on in the COVID. And this was a return by being the first country to receive the vaccine in Africa. And I think it's a clear signal of a kind of mutual respect and collaboration between the two countries.
I was just about to ask you about how Egypt and China cooperated in the issue of COVID-19 since the very start, with Egypt sending China and that was very remarkable. The first mosques. So, how far did we so far? And by the way, how far did you see cooperation all throughout that year between Egypt and China regarding the vaccine, the medicines, the research that were done and made in this term? How did you view such cooperation, and how does that reflect on cooperation between both countries?
Egypt have, as I mentioned, the Minister of Health traveled to China in March. Since then, collaboration in terms of medical discussions, in terms of the protocol has been, and a dialogue has been open. Egypt has been working with the Chinese on the research of this vaccine. I think that the Minister of Health was one of the participants of taking this vaccine early on, with a number of and a big number of Egyptians. So I think that
3,000 clinical trials.
Yes. So being part of the research of those clinical trials, this is a clear collaboration in the health sector.
But that also raises the issue of collaboration between Egypt and China from one side and Egypt and the United Arab Emirates from the other, because all went through the United Arab Emirates. So how is that, or how do you assess that?
I think that our relation with the United Arab Emirates is very strong. We have very historical ties.
Yeah, that is the general framework.
Definitely.
That we have all this, but I'm speaking here within the framework of our Chinese relations. How can this trilateral relation continue on with a big Gulf state with potentials, very high potentials, Egypt as a regional power and China as the second economy? This trilateral or this triangle?
In the health sector?
No, at large, and then we'll speak about
at large. I think that this is a very important. The two countries are very important to Egypt. UAE is a trade partner and a very important political ally to Egypt across different sectors. We see a lot of foreign direct investment from UAE in Egypt. We have very strong economic and political ties with UAE. China, as well as we discussed, is one of the very important trade partners with Egypt. So I think this three countries collaboration is very significant. I think that it opens potential in the Arab world, and it opens potential also in Africa.
Actually, the United Arab Emirates has lots and lots of potential. We're speaking about Dubai, for an instance, which is a center for world trades. And we're speaking about Egypt as in the center of the whole world. And we're speaking about China, the biggest economy. So how can all these factors help those three countries make a kind of alliance and start opening up new horizons of cooperation? This is exactly here what I wanted to ask.
I think definitely there is huge opportunities. Opening economic ties and using the different value add and the different powers of the different countries is very important and opens a lot of opportunities. Suez Canal and Sokhna, for example, is a very good example. You have the Chinese industrial zone, you have the Dubai ports investing in Sokhna port, all this in Egypt, in Suez Canal, and using the location of Egypt, the trade that is passing by Suez Canal. I think it's a clear collaboration between and clear potential economic ties between the three countries.
We're speaking here about Egypt's economic programs that were put, but we're also speaking about Egypt's foreign policy and its successful way in opening up to the whole world, in propagating Egypt, not just Egypt, but also Africa and the Arab world, because this is Egypt's way. And how do you find the foreign policy helping the economic status of Egypt in the past period? And how did that reflect on the very regular citizen?
I think that the foreign policy or the economic policy of Egypt is built on collaboration and win-win situation, or win-win ties between or win-win collaboration between different countries. I think this is our policy, and it is clear from the relations between Egypt and China. It's clear between the economic relations between Egypt and UAE, and building on win-win for both sides.
At the very beginning of this episode, you spoke about President Sisi's 6 times visit to China. And we have seen the Chinese president coming to Egypt, which was very rare since the founding of the non-aligned movements. How far did those visits the president is carrying out with is really helping, promoting and propagating Egypt from all sides in the best way?
The international ties of Egypt is being cemented during the last period. We see a lot of investment coming from China to Egypt, and this is because President Sisi has the clear view and clear leadership on building strong ties with the world top economies.
Here, the World Bank has said in its latest report that economic integration would pave the way for stronger regional alliances that allow countries to better compete in global markets. How is that towards Egypt's policy? How is that towards Egypt as a regional, or in terms of regional cooperation and with different continents and different, I'm speaking about different states in the world?
If we take it industry by industry, we see a lot of collaboration with different companies and different countries all across. So if you take the oil sector, you see a lot of collaboration between the Italian government or the Italian companies, the British companies in the natural gas in Egypt. In the renewable energy, we see a lot of investors from all across the world. In the utility or in the power generations, we have seen the collaboration with Germany. In different sectors, we see collaboration and building economic ties with different countries. And I think this is a very clear direction or a clear policy from Egypt on building economic ties with the key countries in the world. And it is reflected in the programs and the projects and the mega projects that the government is implementing.
As a development planning expert, if you are representing Egypt and you are giving a presentation to how you see the potentials of Egypt to world economies, and you're putting here or dividing here the number of potentials on different scales, political, economic, social, and all this, what would you say?
Egypt has a huge potential, in my opinion. The human capital of Egypt is very important, and I see it in a very positive way of of the potential of the Egyptians and being a productive people, being a productive country. The importance of the Egyptian market is very important. Our location is exceptional.
Did not focus on was the new cities that are being built in Egypt. We're speaking about mega projects that are taking place in Egypt. We're speaking about infrastructure that is being made in Egypt, and how is this attracting world investors, particularly when we are also speaking about transferring into the digitalization, and these were the directives of the president.
I think that my reading from the president directions in terms of investing in the infrastructure in the early years and making sure that the infrastructure, either from road perspective or power generation perspective, was a priority and being developed for the future for Egypt, especially the roads and the power generation. I think we have seen during the last few years a lot of development in new cities with the attraction of the creating jobs and creating opportunities for growth. The next period, as we can hear it from the president's speech, is the digitization, the digital transformation, and building the building and education of the Egyptians. So I think that we will see a lot of investment already started, but I think it will also increase in the education sector. I see that with the infrastructure, with the right urbanization, with the digital infrastructure, and with the education, I think we're very well set for the future of our country.
Transforming into digital, into digitalization, in the digital transformation. We're speaking here also economic-wise. So how do you view a country like China, which is very well known with its IT and the most sophisticated technologies, and how we can make use, particularly in this area, in terms of economy, in terms of education, in terms of, I mean that this opens horizons of cooperation fields with China, right?
Definitely. I think that I see digital in three key benefits. One is facilitation of service. So building the right digital infrastructure facilitate for the people different types of services. The second is overcoming bureaucracy and corruption. So with the increase of digitization, you really minimize corruption and bureaucracy. And the third potential is building the right infrastructure or the right digital companies is a very important export for Egypt going forward. We see that digital economy is a very important. Today you see the top companies in the world are coming from the IT, from the digital side. So the digital space or the digital economy is definitely a very important export potential for Egypt. So those are the three key areas that I could perceive. The benefit or collaborating with the Chinese government definitely is a potential. I think that China has a strong digital economy, a number of different Chinese companies in digital. Collaboration between Egyptian companies and the Chinese companies has been for the last more than 10 years working together in different sectors, especially telecom sector, for example.
If we speak here about Egypt collaboration already with China, and we need to definitely increase. Egypt is all open for all the Chinese investments and know-how and trade and industries. And How do you view the future of Chinese-Egyptian relations, particularly at this next stage and in light of the developments that are ongoing in the region and worldwide?
From the reading of the existing projects, investment in industrial zones, working together in the construction area, working together in the energy sector, working together in the different mining sector, I think it's clear that we are building strong economic ties between the two countries, and for the future it is definitely on a very strong base, I would say.
Before we end this episode, let me here ask you, how far do you think Egypt was able to get to the shore area, or to be able to confront the challenge of the coronavirus period, or this global threat, and how Egypt overcome, or not overcome, because nobody has overcame this period except with lots of losses, but at least how Egypt dealt with this global threat economically, and
I think that the pandemic is definitely a very tough year. 2020 has been tough for all the countries in the world. I think that the Egyptian government has really taken the right decisions, the right policies, with a very good balance between the health of the people and the economy. It is clearly reflected with the numbers of death rate in Egypt that is quite controlled, and it is really clear from the GDP growth that we are seeing in 2020. Or it is clearly reflected in positive on both the health side and the economic side.
Yes, I guess that takes us to the end of this episode. Dr. Mohamed, Kamel Development Planning Expert, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Tomorrow will be another episode with another colleague. Until tomorrow, it's good night.